we want to talk about note investing being passive.
Yes.
It's a huge myth per se.
Yeah.
Is it a full myth or is it partially factual at all?
So that's one that I had on my list as well, is once it's performing, you give it to the, or even if it's non-performing, you give it to the servicer will take care of everything. Kind of. And here's the thing, I don't mean to give servicers a bad rap at all.
Nope.
I think that's a very difficult job.
Yep.
You've got, hundreds, thousands of loans that you're dealing with. You've got hundreds of different investors with all different kind of expectations and, ideas of where they would like this note to go. Like it's a really tough job for a servicer to kind of manage everything and make sure that everybody's happy all the time. I think it's a near impossible job. So that being said, then you've got a servicer where, here, give you a scenario. So let's say that I've got a loan, let's call it a non-performing loan. I've got a non-performing loan. It's occupied. The guy hasn't made a payment for 18 months, let's say. Where do I want that one to go? Do I want that one to reperform? Am I more interested in taking back a property? What is my investor looking for out of this note, and at what and when? There's all kinds of factors in there. So when a servicer gets that note, their thinking might be, we're going to do everything we can to get it reperforming.
Yep.
Well, I also know the history of this note, and the guy hasn't made a payment for 18 months. He'd made payments for 3 months. And then for 2 years before that, he hadn't been making payments. And he had 2 bankruptcies in the last 5 years and. So my strategy on that one may not be actually to get him reperforming. In most cases it is, but let's just, for the outlier, let's say that in this case, I actually would rather just be done with it and take back a property. So if the person comes back and wants to make a partial payment, the servicer in that situation might be like, oh yeah, that's great, everything we can do to get them reperforming. Whereas my thing might be, full reinstatement or nothing. And that's the way it's going to be. And so it makes it very difficult. So when you're talking about totally passive, I think that's nearly impossible.
Yes.
Unless you've got a massive portfolio and then you just do let the servicer do what they're going to do, and the averages are in your favor. And that's how you do it.
I think you make a good point, right? Services is our hurdle times, but also our savior times, right?
Yeah.
They avoid us having to do this full time.
Yeah.
At times, right? Even the mass scale, big time investors rely on the servicers to do a lot of the work.
Absolutely.
So,
and you should.
Yes. But granted, we understand the fact that not all servicers care about the asset as much as we do.
Yeah.
Can't. It's our asset, right? So the passive side can be things such as a performing note that's going great and not worrying about it at all.
Right.
So can this be passive? Yes.
Yeah.
No worries. If it performs forever, like a great renter, right? That performs forever or performs to a point where they pay it off. That makes sense.
Great.
Right.
And you're definitely going to have those,
yes.
And like, not to say that those are, the unicorn that doesn't exist. Those absolutely exist. They absolutely exist. So if you can get yourself a portfolio where that's all it does, then absolutely it can be totally hands-off, passive. You don't have to do a thing.
And if you buy a partial, that's the other side of it. Usually partial is passive until it's not.
Yeah, good point.
Right. So we're going to skip one because there's a little bit of math with doing it. But we're talking about servicing, right? And in our list looking down is self-servicing. It's easy. There's nothing to it. There's people out there who say you're crazy for hiring a servicer. You can do it all yourself.
Yep.
Can you service yourself? And is that easy?
All right. So I've got a really good friend, lives down in Texas, and he has his own portfolio. He's got, I don't know, a couple of hundred loans that he services all himself. Guy makes a bundle of money, and he's a great guy, and I love him to death, and I aspire to be like him one day, except for the self-servicing part. It's a lot of work, man. Like, even just one aspect, let's talk about escrow. If you're collecting escrow to pay for taxes and insurance, that kind of thing, you're going to have to keep that separate. Not only do you have to keep it separate, you have to keep meticulous records of exactly what is in escrow, when, taxes were paid, insurance was paid, and how much. Are there any adjustments to be made because the tax bill went up or down? Like, just that alone, you're talking about on one loan. And then you've got to do that how many times? 10, 20, 100 times?
Sure.
It can get to be a huge job, just that part of it.
And when you first get in the space, never self-service.
Agreed. Yeah.
You have no clue what you can't do. It's not like getting a private loan to somebody and calling them up and say, I want my money.
Right.
There's so many regulations in the space that the servicers handle for us. Unless you have a good idea, I wouldn't speak to the borrower yourself either.
Right.
You're walking on fire there. Can you always get in trouble? No. There are ways to prevent yourself from being in trouble. However, you don't know those ways. You don't know what you can and can't say, and you don't realize what trouble you can get into. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So self-servicing is, once you get it cracking, you only have a portfolio small or in performing. Yes, you can self-service and make it happen and save yourself $15, $20, $30 a month.
Especially if you're talking about like one local area. So my friend in Texas, he's in Lubbock. Everything he has is an hour's drive of Lubbock. So it's all same county, same state, same rules, and he knows them very well inside and out. And so he can do that. If you're talking about having loans in Texas, and then in Michigan, and then in Tennessee, and then in North Carolina, you're talking about different rules and different things you can and can't do. It gets dicey. Yeah.
So before we go to the next one, we want to remind everyone, those people who are beginners / get into Planar Advance and learning these myths are really cool. We do have a 5-week course that's going to be coming up on the 23rd of October. Be 5 individual weeks. Each week we'll be building on the next. Homework, tons of resources. Take a look at the website for more details. I can post a link below. What we'll be doing is, on a weekly basis, you'll be going through actual assets and figure out issues and problems and questions and have homework. We'll provide resources such as statute limitations and timelines and licenses and stuff like that we've never shared before. So if you can bring a partner for half off. So if you are interested in getting involved with this and getting really actually in advance, we'll be covering due diligence and whatnot. Please take a look at the website, sign up. If you have any problems, reach out to us and we'll jump on that.
Yeah, this is very practical, very hands-on. So definitely get involved. Yeah.
You're going to go through assets, and we're going to give you homework such as find the problem. Right? We know the problem. You're going to dive into it and going to be handed a whole file, collateral file, or you'll be reaching out to actual local agents. You're going to be doing things like that to get your hands dirty and get your hands a little messy. But we'll be sharing resources that we've never shared before, and the information will be priceless. I promise you. Yeah, we're really excited about this opportunity.
Yeah, get on board. It's going to be great.
So we talked about a lot of the foreclosures getting involved. We have another issue that I find to be a myth. Some people find to be helpful. And I was just talking to someone just last night, is understanding the math behind notes. Yeah. Right. Can I calculate everything in a way that we calculate, a rehab project or whatnot? Some people do ROI. Some people do how long until I get my money back. Right. Right. Some people say, well, how much over my percentage of borrowed money?
Yeah. And Tom Henderson talks about this quite a bit. We had him on a few months back and talks about this all the time. And he talks about yield is something that's realized when the money comes in. Anything that you put on paper, that's a projected income. Yes. It's not money until it's money in your account. Yeah. So it's all fine and good to make projections, but you don't make the money until it actually comes in.
Yes. So I think what most people don't realize about that is that you can do all the math you want, and things change. Right?
And not to say you shouldn't do the math, because you definitely should,
Yes.
but be prepared for twists and turns.